What's the point of writing tests if you aren't going to ensure they're always passing? I think it's important to set up a continuous integration service very early in a project. Today we're going to introduce Semaphore CI for Firestorm. Let's get started. We're starting with the daily drip Firestorm repo tagged before this episode. We'll make a new branch for later, and we'll push it up. Setting up a Semaphore is not particularly difficult. First, we'll log into our Semaphore account. Now we're presented with a list of our projects. I've already connected my GitHub account. You would have to go through that step first if you haven't set up Semaphore already. Next, we'll click Add New Project to add Firestorm. Now here Semaphore is going to fetch the repositories from my GitHub account, and we'll just look up Firestorm. Then we'll pick the branch to build. We want to build the Semaphore test branch under features, so feature Semaphore test is right here. Finally, we pick the owner of the project. Now Semaphore will analyze the project, identify it as an Elixir project, and ask us to confirm the build steps. So this is one really cool thing about Semaphore is it looks at your project and proposes a test setup. So it's really nice. Depending on what project you have, it might suggest different things, and it's usually really good. So here it's proposed Elixir. We don't want that version. We want Elixir 1.4.5. One nice thing, and I actually worked with the Semaphore folks on this, is the Phantom.js version had to be upgraded from what it initially would have been so that Wallaby works correctly, but they were very responsive and added that to this setup immediately. Anyway, it'll go ahead and install Hex, and it'll run a make-steps.get, and it will run our tests. And then we can just apply these build steps for now. And so it's going to run this test. We can look at the job as it's running. And actually, it hangs here because it couldn't find rebar 3 because it needed it to build the IDNA dependency. And now we're running non-interactively, and it's waiting for us to press yes. So we're never going to be able to do that. So let's go ahead and cancel this build. I just wanted to show that to you. So we're going to modify our build steps. We'll go to project settings. And this is perhaps another suggestion I should make. But for now, this is useful. So I can show you how to do this. We can do mix local.rebar --force. And I'm going to drag that up above mix local.hex. And so if we save those settings, we can start again with the feature Semaphore test branch and see if it does better this time. Okay, so we ran the build again, and this time it failed because it couldn't connect to the database. So Semaphore gives us a couple of environment variables that are meant to help here. So first, let's move them to environment variable names of our choosing in Semaphore itself in the build steps. So we'll go to the project settings, and there's this setting for environment variables here, but I actually do this in the build steps. So I'll add a new command line and drag it up. Well, so fill it out first. So I'm going to export Postgre user is going to be database PostgreSQL username, and I'll move that up here. And similarly, I'm going to export Postgres password as database PostgreSQL password. So now I have the Postgres user and Postgres password in these two environment variables by the time we run our tests. So we'll also need to set some environment variables in the appropriate section in Semaphore's admin. So we can go to environment variables here, and I'm going to export the environment variables, but I'm going to hide the screen a little bit. So I've kind of covered this, but I can't show you the secret access key, among other things. I'll set the ones that are not the secret access key first. So we'll have our AWS access key ID. Okay, and so this is public, so I don't care about encrypting it. I'll create the variable. We'll add a new one. This will be the AWS S3 bucket. Again, this is not secret, so I won't encrypt it. We'll add a new one that is the AWS S3 region. This is US West 2. And then finally, I'm going to add my AWS secret access key ID, but I'm not going to show it to you. But this time, I'll go ahead and fill this part out. This time, I'm going to encrypt the content, but I'm not going to show you the rest of this because I'm not going to give you my secret access key. Okay, so I've set that up, and you can see that no one can see what the secret access key is from here. And I can no longer edit this one since it's encrypted. Okay, next we'll update Firestorm's test configuration to support using the environment variables that we set for the repo database setup. So I'll come over here, and I'll open up config test.exs. And down here, instead of the username and password that we've set here, I'm going to do system.getenv Postgres user, or Postgres. This is where we're not breaking anything that was working previously if we don't have environment variables set. Postgres password, or Postgres there. The database will still be the same. And we'll go ahead and commit this and push it up. And if we come here, we should see a new build got triggered. We can go look at it. Okay, so this build didn't fail, but actually there were a few errors related to a race condition with the notifications worker. So we're going to modify our application to avoid starting our notifications process in test mode. So we'll open up the application.ex, and we're going to move this. We're going to define a new thing called default children, and we'll set children to that. So that's a straight refactor so far. We're going to pull out the Firestorm web notifications. We're going to define a new function called children that takes the mix environment. And so for test, it just returns the default children. But for any other environment, it'll include the default children and then append a new list of children. In this case, our notification server. And now we'll switch to using children for mix.env. And let's actually just do this. Let's modify this to be children for mix.env. And get rid of this because that's just confusing otherwise. Okay, and we'd like to start it for the duration of the notifications test though. So let's go ahead and open up the notifications test. And for now, we'll just add a new setup, and we'll start it. We're not going to tear down like we probably should. Okay, so that should work. And I'm going to go ahead and add this and push it back up. And we happened to avoid the race condition this time, so we did pass even though we had these issues. This part is all tangential to actually running Semaphore, but these are the sorts of things you might run into. So, worth going through them. Well, except of course I didn't try to run them before I started and I messed something up. Fantastic. Because I need to import the supervisor spec at a higher level in my application configuration. So sorry about that. And so it'll run one more time. We can watch the job. All right, and our test pass. And you can see you can also get a nice badge for your README. This one is on this particular branch, so you probably want to put the master branch badge in your README. But it's pretty awesome. In today's episode, we saw how to set up continuous integration using Semaphore CI for the Firestorm project. Aside from a simple tweak to support the environment variables that were provided by Semaphore, it was completely trivial. I hope you'll take the opportunity to set up CI for all your projects, given it's so easy. If you'd like to sign up for Semaphore CI, they've offered a coupon code for Daily Drip users. You can sign up with the coupon code DailyDrip30, so that would look like DailyDrip30, and you'll get a 30% discount for 3 months. See you soon!